Hello everybody, this is B.Jr. on B.Jr.'s Movie Cave on the Endurance Productions YouTube channel. I'm going to do a laid-back commentary for you guys today. I don't know if it'll be in the heights of shenanigans like maybe the commentary for Commando, doing all the Arnold stuff, but picked out the little mid-80s classic youth teen angst movie, The Legend of Billie Jean, which you can find prominently on Blu-ray nowadays in the cheapo bin at most of your local Walmarts and or dollar stores across America for $5. For years upon years, and we'll get more into this during the commentary, this movie has kind of languished in Blu-ray hiatus where you could not get it on, or even that on an official DVD. I think there was a made-to-order DVD there for a while from MGM, but I could be mistaken. I'm on the main menu screen now. If you want to queue up your copy, we'll get right into it. I'm just going to give you my little experiences and feelings on the movie. Not feeling up to par, kind of in the bed, getting some bed rest, and thought I'd break up the boredom and do a audio commentary. Why not? Give you some fun factoids along the way. You know how it goes, guys. All right, I'm on the main menu screen where it says the title, play movie, commentary, so forth. Now all I'm going to do is count down from 3 like usual and press play or select play. Here we go, guys. Queue up your copy. 3, 2, 1, press play. All right, it's going into the blue screen of death there with PG-13. Parents strongly cautioned. I guess we can talk about that first. The movie originally garnered an R rating, I think, for some of the subject matter, which this movie isn't really, in my opinion, it's the old 80s PG or at the most PG-13 movie. I think it does have an instance of the F word used once or twice in the movie, and I think that's what really kind of, that and children are runaways in the movie and things like that, so kind of a little tidbit there for you. It originally had an R, they want a PG-13 on appeal, and I'll try to keep the volume down here on the tube so it doesn't interfere with our factoids. It is a Matthew Robbins film, as you're seeing there. Don't know too much about Matthew Robbins. I guess we could IMDb him here and try to figure it out. We'll get more into the cast as well, some other trivia. Matthew Robbins, I think, was a TV director, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he didn't really set the world on fire, I don't think, with his career, but I do think he did some other projects. Given a moment here, I'll look him up. Here we're seeing the first scenes of Helen Slater and Christian Slater, not related. We'll get into that later. There's age-old stories about how they were brother and sister, and I'm like, nope, they're not related, guys. Sorry. Okay, yeah, Matthew Robbins, he's probably best known for other projects like Batteries Not Included, filmed in '87, and also the horror film Mimic from the mid-'90s. So he's done some material. You know, there's some material out there. It's probably a little more well known than this one. Let's see, what else did he direct? Dragonslayers is another one from 1981. Now that's kind of a cult hit, much like Legend of Billie Jean. Let's kind of segue into that. Movies like Legend of Billie Jean, The Beastmaster, Dragonslayer, even Conan the Barbarian to some degree. These movies were rampant on HBO back in the day. About any given time of the day or week, it played like incessantly on these cable channels. And then it was replayed on other cable channels that came along later, like the movie channels, Cinemax, and stuff like that. So there was no shortage of seeing this movie throughout the late 80s after its theatrical release. But something happened, guys. This movie kind of languished in it, even during the big video boom. I mean, it came out on VHS, but then it didn't even really get a whole lot of re-releasing on VHS and or Laserdisc, to my knowledge. Something happened. I've not ever been able to confirm this, but I've read it in so many different circles, and so many fellow fans of Billie Jean have kind of come through with some intel that a lot of it had to do with the soundtrack. The soundtrack of this movie is awesome. You got a lot of good 80s tunes. Pat Benatar's in there, the Divinyls, a bunch of bands from that time frame. There's a lot of royalties issues that came out afterwards where you kept hearing all these stories about how none of the bands from the soundtracks. They didn't use just a musical score. They do have musical score, which is cool too. But since they used so many songs in the movie, everybody jumped in during the re-releasing time when DVD hit, and everybody wanted to get paid, especially Pat Benatar. So I've heard. Now it's not confirmed. Ooh, milkshake to the face. Sorry. Too much fun. 80s at its best. This movie is filmed in all practical locations in Texas and so forth, and or different places, but no stages were used. There you go, the little factoid along the way. And there we have Carolyn Slater going down to the water in her bikini. Bikini set up there. And Christian Slater's playing with his tail. Yeah. Anyways, yes, Pat Benatar. Let's talk about that a little bit. There was a little tidbit on the trivia here that I've kind of dug up. That during a lot of her concerts, before she goes into the next track of Invincible, which is the track from this film, she laments that this is from the worst movie ever made. And that was quoted, supposedly, from her. So, don't know why that is, but mainly because, I always beg to differ. That's why I have a little disrespect for Pat Benatar in that respect. I've always been kind of a fan of her music growing up during that time frame, but Invincible is probably one of the top 5, if not top 3 songs that woman is known for. Even today, whenever she goes back out on the road, people want to hear it because it was a good song. She got paid at the time whenever she made it, but the re-releasing, I think, had left a sour taste in everyone's mouth. They didn't want to pay anybody, so they just had to leave it on the shelf. That's all I know about it that I've heard more than often. It's not really confirmed, but you know, these things go. You hear one thing one week, and next week you hear another. Talking about these two here, Christian Slater and Helen Slater, they are not related brother and sister. A lot of people would like to remember that, but I think they tinted their hair the same for the movie. I've heard that many a time, so they could appear as siblings for the roles. Sorry, I had to get a drink of water. Yes, folks, it's water. Cool, clean water. This is Christian Slater's first lead role. He had done some TV and things of that nature. He had done a spot on George Romero's TV show Tales from the Dark Side. I think he showed up in an episode or 2 of that. He was 15 at the time of this filming, and he went to school while it was filming. Had to do a lot of schoolwork in his off time. There were some varying ages, even though they did well with the casting. The cast of the main setup, 4 or 5 teenagers that you follow throughout the story, a couple of them were older than they had to appear. Look at these jerks here. That poor, defenseless Scooter. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This guy, Whip Hubley, I think is the name of the main thug there. Or baddie. Yeah. Christian Slater called him a fart face. He actually used the word fart face. Can you believe it? Anyway, I think he showed up in a minor sporting role in the movie Top Gun, if I'm not mistaken, back in the day, around the same time frame, about a year or 2 later. Anyway, getting more to the main cast here, Yeardley Smith, who plays Putter in the film, one of the girls that tags along, she was playing a 14-year-old in this film, and she was actually 22 at the time of filming. You'll know Yeardley mostly from her voice, that kind of whiny sounding voice that she has. She's lent it for many decades now, or years, for Lisa Simpson on the TV show The Simpsons. She was also in Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive as the very annoying newlywed, one of the newlywed couple. Curtis! You know that girl? Yeah. God, it's kind of burned into your brain after you watch Maximum Overdrive as many times as I have. But going on some factoids here, I'm reading on the internet here. Yeardley Smith was 20 years old, not 22. She was 20 years old when she was cast as a 14-year-old Putter. Moreover, Smith's breasts had to be strapped down with an ace bandage to make her look younger. So there you go. Everything you want to know and more about Legend of Billie Jean. Get some more water. cool, clean water. Gotta love it, guys. Gotta love it. And we've got Christian Slater. He's stressing out about his bike, as he calls it. It's a scooter, dude. And see, when I was a kid, I thought the scooter idea was it was the coolest thing ever. Because he's got a scooter, man. Every kid wanted a scooter if you were too young to drive or too young to get a motorcycle. But I started thinking, this kid's in his teens. And I'm like, I don't know. Looking at it as an adult, I'm like, that's kind of weird. He's so attached to a motor scooter. But then again, it's all about the movie, you know. Got some 80s MTV going on here. And we have Yeardley Smith and the other girl that's in the movie with him. They're talking about the breast size of the girl in the video. And just a typical night in the trailer park, man. Christian Slater stated in an interview I'm reading here that while the filming of the movie, he thought he was fated to marry Helen Slater because their last names were the same. Mind you, no relation, but at the same time, isn't that awkwardly weird that he wanted to marry someone that had the same last name? Inquiring minds want to know, Mr. Slater. Chime in, leave a comment below. Let's see. Getting into these scenes with kind of one of the more adult actors of the film, Peter Coyote. Peter Coyote had a really decent career there for a while. I mean, he was in a lot of 80s films. Always played very stern characters. He's also in a early 80s Walter Hill film that I enjoy, entitled Southern Comfort, which he starred with Powers Booth, Lewis Smith, some other 80s favorites during that time frame. Whole big old cast in that one. It's kind of a National Guard action / deliverance film. Really good film. There we had a brandishing of an F word from Yeardley Smith. Leave it to Yeardley Smith to get an R rating for this movie, you know. I have to go to an appeal for PG-13, you know. No, anyway, just Peter Coyote. Very signature look. He always had kind of the feathered hair there and the whole slightly country western look going on. And there's another brandishing of the F word. So I think that's the two F words back to back there. You got to remember, this is in the infancy of PG-13. PG-13 ratings stateside had only come out 1 year prior to this. Now, this is getting off on a tangent, but little trivia for you folks. The first movie, I think, the first movie to gain a PG-13 rating ever was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom because of the subject matter in the movie. With, I think, soul brainwashing and all that, kind of the hardcore special effects they had in that one at some points. But up until that point, they didn't have any PG-13 movies. But then after that, during the following years of this one, Weird Science, and a bunch of other ones that were coming out, they didn't do just the regular old PG. Up until that point, you could have a couple of, maybe even slip in a couple F words in a PG, old school PG rating up to the mid-80s. Another 80s film that I rather enjoy, action film, Lone Wolf McQuade, that starred Chuck Norris. There again, I know I'm getting off on a tangent, but talking about ratings, it actually slapped a couple of F words in there under the breath of someone, and then in the background of a minor character, of a baddie character, it said it. Plus, there's like hundreds of people getting shot in that movie too, but not a whole lot of blood. So they didn't have the PG-13 at that time, so they went on appeal and they got a PG for it. So a lot of that happened, and instead of keep going back to appeals, they started seeing it, well, we need this mid-range rating for a lot of our 80s films. Because you got to understand, a lot of John Hughes films were coming out during this time, a lot of teen-angst, a lot of hard issues were coming out in dramas and movies of this kind, but they were dealing with young people instead of adults. So it wasn't quote-unquote okay anymore. You know, you had to set some standards. All the adults were like worried again about their children, even though they were watching all kinds of PG-rated stuff that was pretty not so much hardcore, but really hard hitting up to that point. And move my microphone around a little bit here, guys. Hopefully the audio comes through on this thing, guys. I'm not the master recorder or anything. Using the handy dandy phone to record my commentary today, and we're going to upload it later. So, a little bit of notes on the story here. If you've never seen Legend of Billie Jean, you're in for a treat. We're really getting into the meat of the story now. Obviously, there's been some bullying going on. Christian Slater, they did some vandalism. Now, his sister, kind of the take charge part of the duo, she wants the money back and has approached the local proprietor's father, or the local bully's proprietor father of this business, to pay for the damages to the scooter. Nothing else, no saying of apologies or nothing, just pay for the damages. Well, as you'll see as the next scenes progress, that the kid's a bully, yes, but his father's a total scumbag, basically. He's a scumbag. I would even consider him a chauvinistic, borderline rapist to some degree, as you'll see in the next scenes where he tries to take advantage of Billie Jean. Now, I just spoiled that for you, and I'm sorry, but that's just the way I roll. But, it's basically that's what sets the stage. Hijinks ensue, a gun goes off, and it strikes the proprietor, not killing him, but giving him the basis to label himself as the victim and the kids as the terrorists, and they go on the run, kind of like pseudo outlaws, but not in the Old West. They're just kind of on the run from trying to find a way out of the problems that just start mounting up because of them being on the run from the law and not getting satisfaction from this scumbag, basically. That in and of itself is the setting of the stage. I don't want to ruin it anymore, but other things happen in the movie where they try to fight back in their own teen ways and things, and it's just an interesting movie, interesting story. I mean, it's not a bad movie overall. I know Pat Benatar, as I said before, is quoted saying that many times, it's the worst movie ever made, and even though it did languish in video Hades for so long, it's not the film's fault, in my humble opinion. It's a well-made little teen movie that it did really well on home video. I don't know how well it did in the movie market at that time, theaters that is, but it's a really well-made little teen drama / angst movie, I guess is the way I've always explained it. Much like the movies like that I've plugged before, like Over the Edge from the late 70s. Look, IMDb that one, Over the Edge. It's one of the first roles for Matt Dillon. It's a little bit more hardcore. It's based on a true story, but it's along the same lines of these type of movies. There's a plethora of all these kind of movies that came out during the mid to late 80s. Movies like Tough Turf with James Spader. James Spader's known for The Blacklist and all that stuff now, and Age of Ultron, Avengers movie now. But before that, he was a teen star, and he was also in what is it? Not 16 Candles, but Pretty in Pink. He played the scumbag in that one, and the guy's got a wide range of acting skills, and he showed up in one called Tough Turf that I really liked. It's along the same lines as this one. You had other movies like Class of 1984 and all these movies. You couldn't really classify them as anything but a teen drama with some action scarcely put in that dealt with a lot of hard issues. There was even ones that led into the 90s, like Christian Slater, as a matter of fact, starred in this film. He starred in a joint about 5 years later called Pump Up the Volume. Now, it's not an action movie. It's not a comedy, really, even though it's got some funny parts in it like this one does. It's more or less a teen drama with angst built in, so dealing with hard issues here. Getting into a part of the movie here where I'm not really, I don't dig on watching stuff like that, but it really does it in the right way. Not that I'm condoning anything that's happening on screen with the man taking advantage of Helen Slater's character, Billie Jean. But they did it in the right way. They didn't have to go graphic with it. They got the point across that he is trying to have his way with her. And now we're kind of just roll right into the action. It doesn't waste any time. This movie kind of come in at a running speed of about an hour and a half or so, and it fills the time well. It develops the characters along the way well, especially the ones that you follow throughout the film. And there's other drop-in characters that come in later, like Dean Stockwell and Keith Gordon. We'll get to them in a little while. Ready for the moment here where Christian Slater accidentally shoots the boss or the father of the bully, and kind of sets the story in motion. They become runaways. Been dehydrated, guys, so I've been under the weather here. Trying to swig on some water. I hope you guys don't mind. Here we go. Oh, shoot. Shot him right in the clavicle bone there. Shoulder area. Pretty good little Blu-ray, too. I mean, when I saw this in the bargain bin, I said, oh, Lord, Mill Creek put it out. It's going to be just total garbage. And why didn't Criterion come out with this and all this stuff? And started thinking, well, maybe if Criterion came out with it, it's going to cost money to produce. And I'm being honest with myself here. This movie's not going to make top dollar, even in resale value. So it's probably a good move that they did put it out in Mill Creek to test the waters, if anything, so that other companies like the re-releasing companies can come out with it in a Uber edition, collector's edition later on down the road or something. But to its credit, this little Mill Creek Blu-ray, as opposed to a lot of their little cheapy budget releases, picture quality and sound quality on this is actually quite good for a $5 purchase. Look at that gas sign, $1.05 a gallon. Oh, I love it, man. Love it. Living in the South where I was at the time, we actually had it below $1, I believe, back during this time frame. Unreal. Anyway, I digress. Sounds good. It's just a stereo track, if I'm not mistaken, and it's also got good picture quality. I mean, picture quality is not, remastered Jaws quality, but it's not super grainy. They didn't leave a lot of speckling in it. They found a good print of the movie to transfer, in my humble opinion. I mean, they didn't really mess with the colors a whole lot in it and stuff like that. So it's got a commentary track, I believe, with Helen Slater and Yeardley Smith. I did listen to that commentary track a while back when I first bought this Blu-ray, and it was quite informative. I mean, I'm not a real big commentary guy, even though I'm doing one for you guys right now. But I don't really like to listen to those technical ones where when the boring director just sits there and just blah, 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 blah. We had to go to Yugoslavia. Now, if it's a good director that I'm really interested in, like John Carpenter or Francis Ford Coppola, or somebody that's going to give me funny stories about the filming of the movie and just things the good stuff, if you will, that's what I'll listen to a commentary for. Some of the best commentaries are John Carpenter and good old Kurt Russell together. You can tell they're just old buddies having fun when they're watching the movie, having fun laughing at themselves or their direction style, stuff like that. So, pause for just a minute here. Get a little drink of water. They're all piling in the love wagon there, as I used to call them, big old station wagons. You don't see those much anymore. I love this girl's accent. She's so funny. I'll drive you anywhere you want. I don't know if she was really from Texas or whatever, but Texans really don't sound like that. I got a couple buddies I still keep in contact with who are native Texans, and they just kind of talk like everybody else. It's not really like a big difference. I got a little bit of a southern mountain drawl to my lingo, and I've tried for years to shake it, but it's just there. Sorry, guys. Gonna talk a little bit of hillbilly for you. And we have Peter Coyote hanging out again. He doesn't really dress like the other cops. That's what I like about it. He's kind of the cop that wears his gun the other way. He's a blue jean cop. He does what he wants, no tie. Doesn't really develop his character more than what you see. He just kind of shows up following these kids throughout the movie. Well, what I like about the insertion of his character is he's kind of the catalyst that kind of holds the movie together. You got the other kids on the run. You got these bad guys trying to have their way still with the media, trying to use it to their advantage and make money off of the incident. He's in the middle of it trying to keep he's like the calm of the storm. He's trying to keep this from erupting even further. But even with him trying to do that, he's just the guy that's still trying to count them as just kids being kids. He's trying to keep the situation under control, even though it's uncontrollable. We're going to hang out in the old putt-putt, or the miniature golf park here. I think most of this movie is filmed in or around the Corpus Christi, Texas area. I've never had the honor of going to Corpus Christi. Been to a few good different places, a good few in Texas through military time and visiting with my buddy, and been around a little bit down that way, but never got to Corpus Christi. I think it is a beach town. It's out on the coast, on the Gulf Coast area. I think it's southeast of Houston. I could be totally wrong. I was never a geography student, guys. Sorry. While we're waiting on this little part to kind of get settled here, they're all kind of resting now. And another little tidbit of trivia: there was a dance rave sequence that was filmed even before raves were raves, but it was cut from the final finished version of the movie, which is kind of what I wish. I wish they would come out with. I was there too. I can't. She's got to be a local somewhere. I'm not real sure. She might very well be a Texan, but that accent is so much different than everybody else in the movie. I was there too. Anyway, um, anyway, yeah, I was hoping one day a place like Shout Factory or somewhere would get a hold of this title so they could. I mean, the way I would release it a good all-purpose 2-disc Blu-ray with a copy of the soundtrack in it. Make money for everybody. Charge a little bit more. Give some royalties to the people that sung in the movie. Also, include all these scenes that were shot, like deleted scenes. Interview as many cast members as you could, because I'd love to hear about some of the stories that went on in the film of this movie. You get some of those tidbits from Yeardley Smith and Helen Slater, but you can tell they've kind of moved on in life. They've grown up. They've become parents themselves, and they're kind of more reserved now about what happened. They could give some candid stuff on their commentary, but it's not really all the inside dope that I feel like has probably went on during the backstage of this one. We'll talk more about Helen Slater's hair later on in the movie as it comes into play. Look close for a cameo for Miss Carolyn Williams. A lot of my horror movie buffs will know her from playing Stretch in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and quite another little subdued career that she had. She shows up in a small cameo, or not really a cameo. It's probably just like a drop-in role. She's one of after they go on the run hardcore. She's the girlfriend of the monster truck or the jacked up truck cowboy that starts shooting at him with a rifle. So watch out for her. The kid on the right on the screen right now, he was on, I think, Silver Spoons for a while with Ricky Schroeder. I could be wrong about it, but that kid looks very familiar. Look at all that junk food. Ugh, it gives me a stomach ache just looking at it. All those Snickers bars and everything. Ugh, jeez. Look at those beer signs in the background. Schlitz, Coors. Coors was a big deal in Texas for a long time, mainly because you couldn't get it in Texas. I know I'm talking about an awful lot about other movies today, but it has to do with the movie Smokey and the Bandit. That's the one I need to do a commentary on right there. But yeah, I think it was east of Texas. You couldn't take Coors beer to some degree for some law they had, but you had to go there to get it and all this stuff. But Coors was big there for a while. Shiner beer is really big down there. That's one of their proprietary beers in the location. Here I am talking about beer too, but that's really neat. I love to watch these older films that have the beer signs and stuff like that. I'm kind of a closet case beer sign collector nowadays. I just like to collect neon and all that shit. Oh, excuse me, all that stuff. Trying to keep a PG-13 rating here, guys. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Billie Jean's making some demands now. So she not only wants the Mr. Pike to give her the money, but she wants it to give it. She wants it in person. So the kids are starting to feel a little bit more empowered now. And there you go. She starts saying the moniker for the film, "Fair is fair." By the time you get to the end of this movie, you'll probably start using it in your everyday lingo. We didn't want this. We didn't ask for it. Fair is fair. Hold up your hands. Yeah, we'll get to that later. There you go. You can already see that the scumbag. I'm just gonna keep calling him the scumbag. It just feels right because this guy, he's been in other westerns and things of that nature, and he plays it to the T. He's got that thin mustache going on there. Kind of got the evil eyebrows going on. He decides from this scene on in the movie, these kids are wanting the kids are kids. You know, they'll anybody that's kind of big on the news or whatever, they're always looking for an idol to follow. And they wanted her poster in the window there, and he notices from this incident with these kids that people pay good money, cash money, for anything associated with the media of the event that happened, the shooting. And he just out and out tells the cops, "I'm gonna make some money off this. You know, you want one too? I'll sell you one half price, Lieutenant." Scumbag. He even laughs like a scumbag. I just like saying that word today, scumbag. Sorry about that. I must be feeling a little better. This is cool. I'm glad I did this commentary now. Now they're kind of like a little old west gang now. They're going into all the stores. GI Joes, man. I used to have some of those toys there. GI Joe toys. Those are the real deal 4-inch figures in the 80s, man. That was a big deal. Those and Transformers, He-Man, Silverhawks, Thundercats. You name it, man. It was on the TV and on the shelf. You could buy it everywhere. Now they're in the big mall scene. This is the way malls used to look. This is when malls were cool. They had arcades. They had, you know, just all kinds of different stuff. Now, kind of malls are places where really you're kind of generic nowadays. You can't get all this same stuff. See, look at all these toy guns here. Don't even have like a red thing in the end of the gun to signify they look real. These are like made off the same molds as real guns. So it's no wonder that so many, I mean, sadly, so many children got harmed or killed during, thereafter. Now, if you walk into a store, guns are bright pink and cap guns, and orange for a good reason, mind you. I'm not making a point in the other direction there. There is a reason for that, and it's a good reason because people need to stay safe. Kids should have no inkling that. I was one of them. I mean, I had these little guns that looked real like that. I'd carry them around in my belt because I wanted to play GI Joe at that age, and young age and stuff. And parents would, some of them would shoot caps, and you pull that out and fire at a cop in a dark alley, man. You put two and two together. Peter Coyote's character now, the lieutenant, he's starting to put it together. He says, he's like, what really went on up there? He didn't even have to see it happen. He's getting the feeling of, this isn't right. Coming up here, you're going to see a little chase sequence, and it's got the Billy Idol song playing in the background. But what I've noticed about that track that they use in the movie, I don't know if it's an early studio version of Rebel Yell that they use, because I've got a greatest hits CD of Billy Idol's tunes, and the regular track that you hear on the radio all the time is a little more refined, and it's even a little bit slower in pace. This one that they play is a little bit jacked up in pace, and it sounds a little different. I could be horribly wrong. You wanted the nerdy goodness, I'm giving it to you guys. So don't sit there and say, man, this guy, B.Jr., he's a nerd. But after you've heard these, if you've watched this movie 100 times and you've heard that song over 1,000,000 times. Here it comes. Here it comes. Wait for it. Oh, right to the nuts. That's the second time that poor kid's got it to the nuts. That kind of solidified. Peter Cody knows now that these kids are not as bad as he thought. They're not just run-of-the-mill hellions or troublemakers. They're really just they're trying to. He really kind of gets on their side a little bit and trying to help them a little bit more. This is the parts I like in the movie. They got these little chase sequences in the movie, and the kids are quite smart in that respect. I mean, I don't condone a lot of things they do, and but even right there, Peter Coyote was brandishing a smile of kind of astonishment and/or admiration about the marbles, and here they all work together as a team, and that's what made this movie pretty cool as well. They've got a plan, an escape plan, as it seems here. Let's pause for this good music here. Oh shoot, that hurt. No, as I was saying though, guys, that Billy Idol track there, I think that's an early version of that song, or it's just a studio track because it's sped up and it don't sound quite the same. Here we got Christian Slater playing around with his toy gun, and that did look pretty real to me. I mean, there they go in that big old land wagon, making their escape. This is a staple of this movie too. A lot of people get interviewed talking about Billie Jean, hence the title, "The Legend of Billie Jean." She and her compadres there, they become kind of a small legend for teenagers, and that's where it kind of gets into like a fantasy lore of the movie. They're already this one girl here is talking about how she's a rebel and all this stuff, and the kid was like she was a superhero, and this blonde-headed surfer dude here, he's talking about Billie Jean, I love you, and yeah, here he goes. I love you. Yes, it's weird. But anyway, they become like legends overnight for local kids on the news. Everybody's watching the news. See, kids, this is back in the day before the internet. The news, contrary to belief, was your internet. Everybody tuned in the evening to find out what's going on in the world or the local times or, what was going on. And here we have Christian Slater's not really taking it very seriously. He's goofing off while everybody else is worried and whatnot. But yeah, she becomes kind of like a legend, as you see, probably about the midway point of the movie on to the end. And they have more montages and interviews with other people talking about her and things of that nature. The only thing is, though, it's sort of like Peter, Cody, and the kids. They try to stop what's happening, and it just gets worse and worse and worse to the finale of the movie. And as we'll see later, I'm not going to spoil it, but they're kind of on the run now. They're looking for some food. They're getting hungry, so I mean, they do some things. I could see why this probably would need to have like a PG-13 as well, because they do breaking and entering. They steal goods. Even though they left IOUs, they still stole stuff from the mall. And now they're going to go and break into this house, and they're going to steal food. They're going to just do what they want. Good heart as it may be, they're breaking the law. They are outlaws in some sort of a fashion. Actually, that's not quite true. I think that window was open that Binks just opened up. So, but they're chowing down, man. Man, she's going to eat a whole cake and wash it down with sugar, water, Coca-Cola. Ah, man, no wonder all us '80s kids probably are going to be prone to being diabetes patients and I mean blood sugar problems, all that stuff. I mean, I got the other end of it. I got low blood sugar problems, and I don't know if that had anything to do with all the sugar that was pumped through our bodies during those time frames. And it's not just the parents or anything. I'm not blaming parents. I'm just saying it was just so readily available. I remember when I was in high school, when I finally got in high school, how happy the kids were that they had a couple of Coke machines on campus, and we were all like making a big deal about it. We're in the big time now. We're in high school. We got Coke machines. But it was just like sugar everywhere, man. now getting into my upper years on it a little bit, man. I don't. If it's not water or fruit juice, I usually don't drink it. I just whenever I start to drink like a Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper or something like that, I can only handle a couple of sips, and I just have to put it down. It's too sweet. Anyway, there's your propaganda or proclamation there for sugar usage during the 80s by children. Thank you. You're not sure what's going on right now. This kind of looks like my man cave. If you ever seen my B.Jr.'s Movie Cave channel videos here, and many of my horror buff buddies, they have a horror collection similar to this, weird lights and masks and all that kind of stuff. That's why I've always been, oh look, oh lordy, got a wolf man there. What do? You always grab a guitar and hit him in the nuts. That's Christian Slater's favorite nomenclature to hit in this movie is the male nuts. But we have the introduction of Keith Gordon's character here. Keith Gordon, you know, prominently from the 80s films, Christine, and a whole bunch of movies. I mean, he's actually a quite prominent director now, and did a commentary on the Christine DVD with John Carpenter, talking about his career so far at that time. So I'm only guessing he's probably still directing now. He's just one of those guys from the 80s. You probably don't know his name, but once you see his face, you'll know who he is. He's that weird little guy from Christine, who played an awesome role in that movie, by the way. He had a small supporting role in Jaws 2, and I mean, I can't think of a whole lot of what he's been in beyond this one and Christine off the top of my head, but he did show up in quite a few films along the way. He's a lot like me at this age and now. I mean, I've kind of carried that through. I still got my movie and music collection, TV in the background. My man cave looks a lot like his bedroom right now. And when I was a kid around this age, even in my teens, I had tons of movie posters on the walls from the video store and all kinds of wacky, just Halloween masks and stuff hanging around. It looked a lot like that in my room. I mean, it wasn't quite that scary, like a Halloween store, but it was a lot of the same. I've always had an affinity for cameras and artistic side of things, and so that's why I say I really dig his character in this movie. They hit it right. They didn't just do the same jocks or anything like that. You got Binks, who's kind of the underachiever, kind of rebel kid, and Christian Slater's the thinking girl that's just kind of stuck in the low rent or the low rent side of town, and nobody trusts her because bad reputation kids, but they're good kids overall. And that's where it kind of hits on with me too, guys. I mean, I didn't grow up necessarily on Skid Row, but we went from place to place and had to do what we had to do along the way. Didn't have a lot growing up, so we had what we needed. I mean, that's the important thing, and we made it work. That's the important thing. But Keith Gordon's character, where I'm unlike him, is he has kind of like a life of privilege. He's kind of a rich kid. That's kind of where I'm separated. But his interests and the way he carries himself was a lot like me, where he liked film, kind of like I am now today. I mean, I still love film, and I love to talk about movies, obviously, and things of that nature, especially the ones like this that kind of hit home with me. Um, they're gonna kind of she switches the channel there to the movie. I think it's a version of Joan of Arc. I can't remember which version of that. Let's see. Yeah, it's Joan of Arc. Let's see, it is Saint Joan from 1957. I had to look it up. I actually watched this movie on Turner Classic Movies one night. It's very, very depressing. I found the movie very depressing. I just watched it because I kept seeing it for years, just little clips of it in this movie. My wife and I out there for a while, we were getting into watching a lot of classic movies on TCM, and this one popped up one night. I said, "Oh, dude, that's from Legend of Billie. I got to watch that." I love his bed there. He sleeps in a car. I mean, he's just the kind of guy I wanted to be, I guess, whenever I was his age. Check this out. He's going to jump out of his window. I'm going to let it speak for itself. Here we go. They're all gasping. They're like, what is he doing? Oh, Lordy. What happened there? My man has got a water slide from his window to his pool in the backyard. And it's like a professional water park water slide from his window to his pool. How freaking cool is that, guys? But anyway, uh, Billie Jean stays behind when they're out there playing around and goofing off and kind of watches the movie and gets an idea that sets the rest of the movie in place. You know, we're about midway through the film now. This is where the movie takes a turning point. It gets a little more serious. It's still fun, but it just the trouble keeps mounting up. I love the music score in this little scenes here where she makes her mind up. Kind of a synthesizer tune. Shows the burning of Joan of Arc at the stake, and she gets the idea from her to take a stand for what's right. A little unbelievable, yes, what transpires beyond this point, but they keep it kind of in the real world. That's why I'm glad they didn't just shoot it on stages, and it's not a big CGI movie, of course. But this is what, the kids in this movie are a little more realistic. They like to play around after hours. They like to goof around. Kids still love to do this stuff. I mean, that's why movies like this, I think, will always be there. The John Hughes films go without saying because he hit the mark right on those. But little movies like this, Pump Up the Volume, Over the Edge, may not be as widely known or released. They'll be around for years to come because kids can relate, technology notwithstanding. I mean, obviously the kids in this movie do not have, I love your Lisa, she has to pee. But anyway, the kids can relate to the characters that are in there. Um, kids can relate to being bullied. They can relate to having fights because almost every kid has a fight somewhere along the way. Parents cringe, but it happens. It's just a disagreement or something happened to them. Check out that camera, man. Sorry, I want to change the subject. Beta movie. It's a Betamax camera. She's got his Wolfman mask there and stuff. It's pretty cool. They're all wearing his clothes. Here we have, they couldn't have done this reveal better. The double image there in the water. She took like some of his wetsuit gear and his manly clothing there and kind of come up with her own look. Short cropped her hair to a Joan of Arc style there. Kind of a punky kind of do. To kind of make a statement. She cut off her hair to say, look at me. Give me attention now. Whatever we were doing before wasn't working. Maybe this will work. You'll see that I'm not messing around. Now she's going to film up kind of use the media to her advantage now that the media is already kind of taken the side of Mr. Pyatt. You don't really find out right away what happens on the tape till the next couple scenes, but pretty cool stuff. 80s style, yeah, but and the styles of the clothing in the movie are not super over the top 80s stuff. Now Keith Gordon's rocking some tweed pants there and his checkered shirt and everything, but it being I think they picked a good location to kind of subdue that because it's a beach town. Beach clothing's always going to be beach clothing pretty much, so it looks pretty much indigenous to the location. Keith Gordon wants to join up with the band of merry men now and decides to ask him to take him along as the, as the hostage. Keith Gordon's hair in this movie defies gravity too. That's awesome. It's always messed up. It's always sticking straight up. It's hilarious. I like how they kind of did I won't call it so much a love story, but like the togetherness of Keith Gordon's character and Helen Slater. Helen Slater being the character from the other side of the tracks, and Keith Gordon, they didn't do it in the John Hughes film where they're pining for each other the whole movie or anything. But they kind of have like this togetherness the whole movie where, they probably go on to kind of be boyfriend, girlfriend, or they would want to be boyfriend and girlfriend. But all this other stuff is going on right now, and it's just inhibiting. It's more realistic that way. They can't just pause to look into each other's eyes all the time, that type of thing. Let's see here. I think there's some small bit of trivia about this police station that they're in. I think is the actual real police station. They shot that in. I could be wrong. I do know that the radio station that's on the radio that they use quite prominently throughout the movie. Remember, this is pre-internet, so they had a lot of TV and radio. That's why this videotape is so important right now, because these videotapes were sent out to all the media stations, and even one especially to the policemen there on the case. Remember, this was the videotape age. Everybody were getting videotape players more prominently, and this was a communication device of sorts too. This wasn't the digital age, kids, where you could just email a video. You couldn't do that no more. Back then, you couldn't do that back then. Now she's going to make her little more forceful statement here about the truth. Sums it up with fair is fair. Oh, she's getting mad. See, kids are already starting to pump their arms like her, and it starts growing from the midway point of the movie now, and kids start getting on their side, and parents, it's just kind of like becomes a media circus, and it gets out of control. And it's all over a broke scooter's damages of $608. And the hostage thing, I don't think really helps them either. I think that's a really stupid idea on Keith Gordon's part, or his character's part, just my humble opinion. But then again, it makes the story interesting. Rock on. Here's another drop-in character. Played pretty well by Dean Stockwell, very low-key. This guy's a great actor, but he's kind of a character actor from the 80s and 90s primarily. Showed up in this film. Another movie I really liked, Dune. He's in a character in that movie. Played on the TV show, what was it? I don't know if it was Sliders or one of those science fiction shows. I can't remember. But he was prominently on that one, and he's been in Blue Velvet, been in a ton of films. But he plays like he's not really a slimy politician. He's kind of just a hard-nosed politician who's image conscious, which you have to be when you're a politician. I understand that. But he's very image conscious. His son is just acting out for attention, he thinks, and he's making light of it, and he's up for office and all this other stuff. But I like the way he plays it. He doesn't play it like a Colonel Sanders, Southern guy out there just kind of flamboyantly or anything. He's just like shows up in a helicopter. Okay, I'm a guy. I'm important, but I care about my son. He's breaking the news right now to Peter Coyote in a kind of a subdued way, but you can tell he still cares for his son. And even the kids in the movie, they're not defiant against their parents. That's why I like that they got real in this movie too, because parents are always inherently biased to always take up for their children, but at the end of the day, there's always going to be a love there of some level between the children and adults. Not to get too philosophical on you guys, but these parts are funny where Keith Gordon said, "If you get somebody's ear in the mail, it's mine." They're trying to make a hostage video, and I don't know if they ever quite get that done in this film, but there's that radio station again. The radio station was actually a real radio station, so saith the whatchamacallit, is C101 is an actual station in Corpus Christi. A little bit of trivia there from IMDb. Thank you, IMDb. Well, I've been talking a mile a minute in this commentary. Usually I don't talk that much when I'm sick or feeling that much, but we're doing pretty good, guys. Now that Christian Slater's shaved or cropped her hair down to about nothing, Joan of Arc style, let's talk about her hair for the movie. There's some trivia about the person who actually created her hairdo. It had to look like it was done by herself very quickly, but it also had to look stylish enough to get her through the rest of the film in that type of character. She could they had to do it where she doesn't look stupid. Basically, is what I'm saying. Her hair was designed and cut by let's see, it was I think it was a iconic. Here it is. Helen Slater's iconic close crop coiffure. What was that? How do they call that? Coiffier, or cut for the film, was done by a born-again hairdresser who said a prayer prior to cutting Slater's hair. If you cut that much off your head, I guess I would say a prayer. But anyways. But going on about her hair for the film, it also goes on to say that she had to wear a wig, a long hair wig, in several scenes that were reshot after principal shooting had wrapped. Only until I read that trivia. I read this trivia, I think, a while back when I watched it last. Yardley Smith also had to wear a wig for her character because she also cuts her hair later in the film. If you look close, especially with Helen Slater during some of the earlier scenes we just watched, you can tell the blonde wig from her regular hairline. Look at the top of her forehead and you'll notice it. Here we have Mr. Pyatt making a lot of money off my man is selling shirts that just say Billie Jean on them. Your typical surf shop scumbag proprietor dude there. Not that they're all scum. That was a bad way of saying it. No, this guy independently is a scumbag who happens to be a surf shop proprietor. That's the way I should have said it, guys. I said it wrong. Sorry, guys. Been sick. Bear with me. But yes, he's a total scumbag character who's making. He's even got a tent being erected behind him there. Going to sell. He's got his bloody shirt up on display with arrows pointing to it. It's just, yeah, typical. Things are starting to get a little more serious now that she's cut her hair off. They're looking for a wig to cover up her hair to hide her from the media. Even the little kids are starting to catch on about who she is because she's in the newspaper and stuff. And the little kids seem to see her as sort of like a pseudo superhero, that she can do things that other kids can't do, which is both powerful and kind of like a benefit. And this was like it's benefit and a curse at the same time. Here we segue into like a little subplot, small subplot, where it kind of demonstrates overnight how much a sensation she became because she cut her hair. Everybody knows about her within a day or two, and look at that kid sporting his mullet and his rat tail. That was something that happened oh man, that happened all the time back in the 80s. But anyways, all these kids with their mullets. I was actually a mullet kid for a while too. Don't worry, kids. You can get a different hairstyle later. That's what I always tell kids now. The kids don't do mullets anymore. 90-10s, business up front, party in the rear. Anyways, we're going into the segue here of an abused child where kids in the neighborhood have kind of treated her like she's a superhero and she needs to go in and, I don't know, some of them kids have still got some leftover 70 bowl cuts. I had both them cuts. I had the bowl cut first and then I had the mullet. I never had a rat tail, but anyway, I'm sorry guys. That's too funny. She's going to go in and see what she can do for this kid who's evidently being physically abused by this old feller, this drunkard butthead of a father, and it demonstrates the power that she's got now overnight, because the guy takes a look around at all the. She is just a girl, and she is scared of this guy. I would be too, for that matter. But he starts looking around through the windows about all these, not only her teenage buddies, but all the kids in the neighborhood are waiting in the wings to help her. He is sorely outnumbered, and so it goes her way through this situation, as you'll see in a moment. Look at this scumbag with his belt, man. Ugh. It's got to be hung up by his toes. Anyways, he starts noticing that she has tons of followers, and he's very, very outnumbered. He's outnumbered like 50-1 now or something. But, and her teenage buddies are wearing sunglasses like Secret Service or something there. But, he kind of backs off. And, she kind of gets the kid to safety. He even offers her a cold drink. Never noticed it till now, but they came out with a soda apiece, so they must have had a drink with the old man to smooth things over. But that was pretty cool how they did that, though. That's what I like about it, though. You got the whole idea in that scene. To Matthew Robbins, whoever created this film, to their credit, now here's Carolyn Williams in the jacked up truck here. That's hilarious when she turns around. Stop the car! She's wide up. Stop the car! Turn around. This guy's a Texan through and through, buddy. He's got his hat on. He's got a big belt buckle too. The boots, the whole nine. He's just gonna shoot her. Hell with it. This is like one of her first roles. Somewhere I heard that this was possibly her boyfriend in that scene. I don't know if she was just joking about it, but I think I've heard her talk about it at some point. But anyways, yeah, these guys, they learn now through that yes, they have power to save children, but people are actually going to be shooting at them now for real bullets. And you see how there's another little chase scene here, and things are starting to become very, very out of control, realistic. As we go into we're getting ready to segue into the third act of the film. Like I said, they did good little chase scenes in this film. It's not really an action movie. It's just kind of a realistic little drama movie. Kind of like River's Edge with Keanu Reeves and Crispin Glover. Now, it's got some dark comedy in that film, and I really enjoyed the scenes with Crispin Glover. But the subject matter is very hard-hitting, very terrible. I mean, it's really, it's about a kid that goes crazy and kills another kid, and all the kids are, you see everything that plays out in that movie. Here we've got a guy shooting at these poor kids just without even yelling, and just firing a warning shot or even he's just trying to shoot them, wanted dead or alive. That's terrible. He's going to murder these kids. He thought he was going to get a reward. It has a lot to do with media in this movie, too. That's kind of the social commentary of the film. Oh, God, this is that film where at first she thinks she's shot, but I'll just kind of say she became a woman that day, I guess is how how the old-timers used to say it. Banks is like, it's gross, being one of the only guys in the car. But anyway, yes, Yardley Smith having her period for the first time in the car as bullets are flying. There you go. And these poor kids, it just kind of demonstrates, too, it's realistic. I mean, not a whole lot of kids know how to change a tire. Some do, some don't, unless they've been taught to do it or had that life experience yet. Here he I don't know what he tried to do to that tire, but it didn't hold and the air's just coming right out. They're learning very quickly that they have no money. Things are becoming very realistic. They got they got a semi-sick girl on board with them. They need her to go get some rest. And Binks is not taking anything seriously. He's throwing that gun around all the time and so forth. People have got him pegged. Half the people in the media have got him pegged as gun-toting outlaws that'll kill people at will to get what they want. They're kind of a gang in the true sense of the word. And then the other people are just like, no, it's fair as fair. They're just kids. They're just standing up. Sorry about that cut, guys. I had to cut there for a moment. The phone cut off on me there. That's not good. I'll probably have to edit that together in post, as they say. Edit it in post. But we're getting into the third act of the film now. Getting down to the nitty gritty, if you will. Billie Jean's trying to hatch a little bit more of a master plan to try and figure out, hey, this is getting serious. Somebody shot at us. The love story's still there, kind of on the back burner with these two. They're trying to ascertain what do we do now. She didn't want to do it, but as you'll see now, Peter Cody's been kind of. She had to rat on her friends to kind of keep them out of harm's way, get them to safety. Peter Cody looks relieved here, but he's also really hard-nosed about it. He's like, okay, thank God we found you. But wake up, what the heck are you guys, He's a little rough on him here, but he kind of lets him know that this isn't a game and for where that girl's got the weirdest Southern accent. I don't know where she got that. Usually I can place North Carolina, I can place Georgia, even parts of Virginia. Some Texans, they have a certain type of accent, but I can never quite place hers. Getting into a scene here now that they've lost their wheels. They need to get some new get some new transportation here. Christian Slater's so funny in this scene. He's like wearing preppy clothes and he's trying to steal it. He steals a car while they're arguing. It's funny. A few moments too. We've got Pat Benatar's contribution to the film that she doesn't really like, I guess. I don't understand that still, but I like the car he stole too. It's like it's a land boat convertible there, Cadillac or something. And here another good instrumental music score. It's got good music, good vibe to the film. Blu-ray looks good. Hey, I'm happy for now. 3 remaining gang members now kind of get split up. The boys go on the run. Billie Jean goes on her own for a little while, and you get into a montage. During the montage, you have the song that made the movie kind of popular on the home cable market, and the movie made the song famous too. Kind of a joint effort, mutual benefit. But there again, this isn't instrumental. This is another lyric-based tune, but yeah, a lot of good music in this film. I think the point I was trying to make is, and another good little chase scene. The movie's interesting. It starts from the ground, hits the ground running, stays running to the end of the movie. Here's a little interesting angle. You obviously are going to see that girls over the period of the last few days, since she cut her hair, are all cutting their hair the same way as her. And she's like, what the heck? And they're all kind of like got a network of Billie Jean followers that are springing up everywhere in the last little bit of time. And you find that they become protectors for her, but also that Billie Jean, to her credit, her character's credit, and the way it's written, she sees that she's going to have to eventually put an end to this because it's growing out of control. It's fun at first and it's safety net and all that, but people are going to get hurt if she keeps doing what she's doing, which adds to the little more of a realistic tone of the film. Here you have some more Billie Jeanites, as I call them, or followers. They're all short cropped hairdos, and they're all kind of like, what in the world is going on here? It kind of creates a more of the, oh, watch for this slap here. Ooh, that one made contact. You see this here? This is where the character of Yeardley Smith Putter, she cuts her hair off very kind of violently here. She's like in defiance of her mother, who it's established early on. I forgot to comment on that, but Yeardley Smith's character was an abused child. Basically, I mean, her very overpowering mother would slap her around a lot. Very, very strict, overly strict mother. I would say it that way. Mind you, I'm not a parent, but that's just why I took it. Here we have Billie Jean running around in hiding and all. But that slap that we just saw there by Yeardley Smith's mother's character, apparently on IMDb it states that the actress that played her mother slapped her for real in the face. And her face, Yeardley says during the commentary that her face stayed numb throughout the rest of those scenes. She slapped her so hard. Here's Pat Benatar's, and Pat Benatar, see, here's another thing. I know I'm griping a lot about old Pat, but Pat did a music video tie-in. You know, if you're in the 80s and you did a song that was going to be in a movie that you thought were going to be in a lot of theaters or on cable, you were going to have some kind of a video tie-in. She did an Invincible music video that was like a music video for this film or a tie-in in some manner. And the lyrics of the song ties in with the film very well too. I don't know what Pat could expect. She got paid during the day. Everybody knows her for this film and the film for her. You know, it's a vice versa thing. And for her to go around and dog it every time because every person, this is what it is. I know a lot of people probably don't really think of this as good cinema or anything, and I understand that. I can see that. But at the end of the day, it's not an overly profanity-laden film. There's no nudity in it. Just about anybody can watch it. It played forever and still does to some degree on TV if you can find it on some kind of a channel. It's still around. They released it on Blu-ray, so there's something to it. It would have went the way of the beast, the way of the dinosaur, if there wasn't something to the movie. So for her to do that for one of her most well-known songs just bugs me. I'm not going to say I'm angry, but it just bugs me. It bugs me a little bit. So check it out. Now you got this whole warehouse here full of like Billie Jean followers and or, you know, people who are trying to help her, that sort of, so to speak. The thing I mentioned earlier too, I know I'm jumping around all over the place, the rave scene that supposedly was shot for this film, I've heard in a couple different circles, not confirmed, but that little warehouse that she was in, I'm thinking that's where they filmed the dance scene for that. Like they were all in there having a big party, rave dance, style dance. Mind you, it probably wasn't with handheld neons and ecstasy and going around to everybody and everything, but it was that style of party, I guess, before they called it raves. So now you got the end of that montage. We're getting down to the nitty gritty, to the few last scenes of the film. Like I said before, picture quality on this, even during the night scenes of this rain and everything, is very great. I mean, as far as a cheapo Blu-ray, you can tell that they actually tried to clean it up a little bit. It looks pretty good, or they at least found a really good print of the film, because there's little to no speckling on the film at all, or tears or cigarette burns, any of that stuff that would transcribe over from just a film transfer. So they've done something to it. I don't know to what degree. I wouldn't say it's a 2K or a 4K transfer, anything like that, but mind you, I'm only watching it on a 1080p setup here, so you get what you get. Keith Gordon stuck around. Now it's time to run off to a lovely summer abode of a miniature golf shack here and have a little bit of private time with Billie Jean in the dwarf house. So romantic, so romantic. They're kind of come up with their master plan for the rest of the movie. She's figuring out now that what I was saying before, that at first it was a grand help to have all this, but now she's seen that it's getting out of control and it needs to come back to some kind of closure. She's saying she doesn't know who she is anymore and everything. That's where it kind of rings true. I think even into this day, where it transcribes into today, there again, not to get too philosophical, but with all the media-based society and digital-based, everything is on the phone or streaming straight to the TV and all that. Even doing YouTube to some degree, I found myself many a day feeling like this, and that's why I'm trying to do different things in a more subdued manner that are just more meaningful to me on my YouTube channel. When it starts feeling like it's beginning to become you and you it might be a good time to back off from things. Much like Billie Jean's character there, not to draw too many parallels either, but if it's getting to that point, you might want to get back to reality. You're not living in reality, you're living in a fake world. That's why I'm not the biggest fan of Facebook, and I don't really take it very seriously. You see a lot of my goof off stuff on there, but that's really all it is. It's goof off stuff. I gave up on trying to write posts and all that stuff, unless it's just something to say, hey, happy Mom's Day or something like that. Mainly because I think in general, because I was one of them, people spend way too much time on Facebook, not to mention other prominent websites like YouTube and places like that. I mean, I'm the world's worst for doing YouTube videos, but at the end of the day, that's my hobby. There's a distinction there. That's how I justify it to myself. Doing Facebook incessantly, pecking at your phone all day long, I just think that's a waste of life. You think about all the hours that you could add up and went and planted a plant in your yard that you can admire for years to come, or go out with a family member that you haven't seen in years or talked to, or try to re-bridge gaps for that matter. I went off on a tangent there, but really, that's where I think there's more to meets the eye with the Legend of Billie Jean. There's a lot of issues that they hit right, not just teens against the adults and stuff like that, but these characters are well written, in my opinion. They really think like young adults. They think like they should. They have decently realistic policemen in the film. They're not your jumping out of a window cops or holding on to the hood of the car, falling off, and getting right back up kind of policemen. These are just real thinking man's policemen. Peter Cody doesn't even draw his gun the whole movie. That's realistic to me. A lot of policemen will tell you a lot of times they go their whole careers. Some don't even, not a once, pull their gun out in defense or anything of that nature. The only time they ever shoot, it's at the target range. Thankful, and a lot of them realistically are thankful for that. They're not your dirty, hairy types that just blow away any perpetrator without any regard to due process or anything like that. So let's get back to the movie. We got these scenes here. Oh my goodness, we got the bikini babes getting out. All the surfers are out now. They're back to the beach scenes. See, like I said, it is the 80s. This guy right here, this DJ here is steeped in the 80s here, but policemen's uniforms are policemen's uniforms. Cars look different in the film, yes, but the values of the movie are still the same. There's politics, there's policemen, there's law, there's all these kids are, but it transcribes well because the kids on the beach look like kids on the beach now. Shorts look the same, kids are acting the same, having a good time. Seems like whenever you go to the beach, everybody's out there drinking beer, they're going to the waves, they're hanging out, having a good time. And just the little things around you change. And when I go to the beach, I don't even take my phone. I haven't been in a while, but I don't take the phone, I don't take any technology because I feel like I'm really at one with nature. These kids are out there having a great time, but on the backdrop of it, there's all this media this scumbag proprietor is trying to sell her face on anything. He won't pay her the money he owes her, but he'll make money off of her. That's the really part of his character. Just makes you kind of, this guy really is a terrible person. Oh, I like this guy, this lifeguard here. Like, I want these people out of here. This is Billie Jean's beach. I'm here, whatever. Stay and watch him surf. Yeah. It's funny. You see how the police are still they're all putting up the barricades, and the plan was, I guess, for Billie Jean to come in and surrender their hostage and collect the money and turn herself in. But they actually had like another plan, as you'll see play out here in a moment. Oh, I love that right there. The guy on the bullhorn was like, "You guys with the beer, get down off that roof right now," or something like that. See, little things. If you watch these, there's still things I didn't see the first time around. Picture quality on Blu-ray really does a decent job, as I said before, and it allows you to see more background things that were kind of muddled before on VHS days or cable days. See, Peter Coyote's character is realistic there. She was pretty realistic there about. He's like, well, I'll be glad. Told that politician guy, he's like, I'll be glad to tell these kids to go home, but she's got so much power now. There's going to be a riot. There's going to be. Hope you can run fast, and he's just kind of stuck in the middle of all of it now. I think it was in the commentary that Yeardley Smith had said that um, her wig is that one there at the end where she comes out with the short cropped hair. That they had hers kind of caked down with some kind of hair gel, and it was kind of sneaked down the back of her neck there under her coat, and that's why she had a collar up. And during that scene is because it hid her hair strands going down behind her shirt. And this shows that Coyote's character really still cares about the kids and trying to keep it under control. Politician called in sharpshooters from the other department and sheriff's department or whatever, and he's like, "Why in the world did you call in sharpshooters? This is not that kind of a case." Or he was trying to tell him, you're crazy. Even though this guy's a lieutenant, he goes up there and tells these guys, give me the open the guns and give me the clips and give me the bullets, and they're just not listening to him. They're like just in the zone. They're like a SWAT team type dudes, and they're like, "Screw you." Here we go. Look at all those short-haired chicks there. I wonder how many short-haired girls were in these end scenes and middle scenes of the movie that sold their hair. Basically, they told them, "Hey, you get to be in a movie. We'll feed you lunch, chop your hair off." And I wonder how many of them actually did it. Because being a teenager, crazier things have happened probably. Kind of see here we got what you think is Billie Jean. Oop, that's not Billie Jean. It's Binks in drag, and you got Billie Jean in that god awful wig that I don't think would fool anyone personally. She's up there, kind of behind the scenes right now, giving them the signal. At that point, I would have probably put the gun down and just kind of walked in, but he doesn't. And like a bad mistake there. Ooh, sharpshooter shoots him in the shoulder. I would hope that that sharpshooter was just going for the good wound, as they say, and not trying to kill him. But kid brandished a gun, and it's just a bad situation all the way around. And it's like all Hades is breaking loose now. These little scenes with Dean Stockwell, he kind of sees that he's got the "oh my God, what have I done" face going on there, and they're speeding. That was the quickest EMT trip I've ever seen in my life. There, they're speeding Binks away in the van or the ambulance rather, getting him to safety. And while this is going on, Billie Jean notices Mr. Pyatt has been making a little bit extra dough here. And I'd be pissed off too if I saw that. I'd be like, you've got to be kidding me. My sibling is fighting for his life now because of this mess. Whole thing. You hear kind of the music cues from Pat Benatar's song kick in. Her song was kind of used in the instrumental score of the film too, kind of the inspirational score of the film. I don't know if that's the reason for the hatred of the film. I'm gonna quit. I gotta quit about the Pat bashing there. But anyway, here we're getting down to it here. She's gonna confront him, and yeah. What's terrible is any type of media thing that happens, and I'm not going to bash surf shops because I absolutely love going to them when I go to the beach, but a lot of your local chain shops, I won't say their names, down at the beaches, at least the ones that I frequent over time, any type of weird media event that goes on, they will be like vultures on the scene, making T-shirts about it, hats, all the stuff that you see around Mr. Pike right there, $5 a piece, whatever, trying to make, and it's mostly unlicensed stuff, mind you, trying to make as much money as they can. And usually, what'll happen is the person that holds the copyright or anything like that of the celebrity or whatever they're trying to make money off of, or saying from a film or catchphrase, they'll be contacted by these people evidently, and then they say, "Oh, no harm, no foul. We didn't know that," and they stop selling the merch. And then happens all the time. I remember when "Have a Nice Day" was a big thing, had a big smiley face back in the 80s. That or Ghostbusters, any big movie, they'll be out there horking all kinds of illegal print on the spot kind of T-shirts. They'll just iron them on with their little machines and sell them for a profit. You tell him, girl, you pig. Yeah, expose him, girl. Expose him. Pay as you go, earn as you learn. Now that's some really scumbaggery type things going on there. I probably set a new record by saying the word scumbag in this commentary, by the way. I'm going to say it again, too, because I like it. Scumbag. You can tell she still looks really just addled and kind of scared around this guy. And he's showing his true colors here for everybody. Oh, man. One final nut kick for the movie there. Nut knee. You get a little smile there from Mr. Pike's son, the bully. It kind of lets you know he's not all bad. He's just kind of a kid going through the same mess as other kids, and he sees his father finally for what his father is, and he's just kind of like, I'm going to back away, let my dad deal with this, let him, not going to be his little tool, basically. Knocked over some fire, a little canister there, and it's his investment's going up in smoke. Everybody starts turning their backs to him. This is one of the best parts in the whole movie. Cops are like, no, it's a damn shame. Can't help you with that, Mr. Pike. Sorry. And Pat Benatar kicks in again here. Kind of got a parallel, a little poignant Joan of Arc moment here. The statue that he erected, kind of with her with the gun, kind of goes up in flames, just like Joan of Arc, and little hammy, but kind of serves a purpose. It's like a dual thing. It not only serves that purpose, but it serves the purpose of letting people know that she's just a real person, and it gets rid of the superhero. The legend dies just about as soon as it was there. A lot like Joan of Arc. She told the church that she heard voices, that she was to command armies, but it was a man's world. Kind of like this film, chauvinistic dude tries to take advantage of a little girl, and yeah, there you go. But it's kind of safer this way. Everybody kind of throws their merch in the fire, and no one else is hurt. She gets to walk away from it. Mr. Pike kind of showed his true colors. Nobody wants to help him. Peter Cody just says nothing. He just smiles a little smirk and lets her go on. Now, in the real life, kids, you probably still have to go to jail, file a bunch of forms, and go to court. But this is the Legend of Billie Jean. She's a legend. So they kind of leave it open-ended. I kind of like the way they did that. Keith Gordon gets a smooch, and you kind of get the feeling like they'll stay. They got something going on. And now we're like, whoa, there's snow everywhere. They kept name dropping Vermont in their characters between the brother and sister throughout the movie, and evidently they finally took that trip to Vermont that Binks wanted to see. He'd never seen snow before and all that. This establishes that Binks survived, and he's still complaining, still being a little brother. A little cringe moment there because Binks kind of makes a little walking away comment, far out. I'm looking at the snowmobile. And it's kind of like nothing changed. It's just like it's going to start all over again or something there. But here you got all the wonderful characters in the movie. It wasn't Whip Hubie, it was Barry Tubb that played Hubie in the film. He's actually the guy from Top Gun. Got a lot of names here. Got Policeman Number 1, played by Thomas M. Jarrett. Thank you very much. Kid in Crowd Number 2, played by Kenneth Beale. Wonder what he's doing nowadays. Pardon me. But all in all, still a great film. Never gets old to me. Don't watch it quite as much as it used to because back in the day before we had a VCR and all that stuff, you really couldn't pick and choose. It's whatever was on. And if you had to watch Beastmaster or Legend of Billie Jean 3 times a week, it was just on. That's take your pick. So, yeah. Got Pat Benatar's song yet again playing here in the end credits. And like I said, by the end of the movie, you got that song and Fair is Fair and some other things buried into your psyche forever. And like I said, I still come away with it. It's 90 minutes of 80s fun that really is what I consider to be a transcribable movie that transcribes the generations. In terms of tone, all the same things that kids still feel, even in the technology age, internet age. Um, it's just feelings that go through all of us during that time frame in our lives. And now in adulthood, I see the point of view of the policeman and all the other people in the film. Probably making more to this than I should, really, guys, but want to leave you with some final thoughts there. Let's see, what are some other cool tidbits in the old credits here? We've got the Foley editors, the ones that make the odd sounds in the movie. Rob Fruchtman and Diana Pellegrini. Wonder where they're at now. Pretty cool. Craft service was by Big Bad Bud Conley. Thank you, Bud. Yeah, see, it's even credited as Invincible. Theme from the Legend of Billie Jean. Music and lyrics sung by Benatar. Rebel Yell, Billy Idol. All kinds of stuff. Corpus Christi, Texas. Thank you very much. Filmed in Panavision. It's not in 235. It's 1851 ratio. It was released by a major studio, TriStar Pictures. And they were a major studio back during that time, putting out tons of anything from Arnold Schwarzenegger to Rambo films, and you had it. They put it out. But it's just one of those that got lost in the shuffle, but thankfully it's still around, kind of sneaking its way around the home video market. Rock on, dudes. Catch you later. Bye.